What's up, everyone? It's Rossi, and I'm back with another show for you here on Rossi's Clubhouse. We're going to get right into it. You guys, I've been teasing this episode, episode 59 of Rossi's Clubhouse. I have with me Mims, okay, a rapper out of New York. I mean, you guys know Mims. This is why I'm hot, okay? Move on, or move if you want to move. So many songs. We'll get into it. His first album, Music Is My Savior. You guys, This Is Why I'm Hot just popped, just absolutely popped. And if you had the album at the time, I'm sure you listened to it and was like, damn, this, most people that give you an album, Mims, when their first song, it just skyrockets. I mean, Billboard #1, Hot 100, it went crazy.
Yeah.
Most people that buy that single and they get the album, some people are just kind of like, what? Only one song? No, not with your album. Your whole album is lit.
Yeah.
What do you say to those that just are surprised that it's not only this hit, the whole album is lit?
I think music is subjective, right? So I feel like I'll give an example. I got a message yesterday from I guess a fan or someone who appreciates the music, and there's a record on. I want to say it's the first album. It's called "Don't Cry,"
Yeah.
and they were like, "Thank you for making this song." And it's just one person, who would reach out, and that's one message. But the message means more to me than it probably even means to them because the whole purpose of me making a record like "Don't Cry," which is a sentimental record for me, is to say that this is my childhood experience growing up, and if you appreciated this record, then you had to have gone through something similar or something that brought you through a hard time. And we're going on the brink of 20 years later, and I think when you get messages like that, you see how music can affect people, and it's subjective, right? Because while This Is Why I'm Hot is such a huge record,
Right.
and when I was coming out with it, I got hit with the one hit wonder label because it's because it was such a massive record.
Right.
But like when you fast forward 20 years later and you see that some of the music could still have the impact that it does, then it just showed you that music is subjective. It doesn't matter when you did it, how you did it, where you did it. You could listen to it now, you can listen to it 20 years from now and still have an impact. And that's the part of it that I appreciate. So like for me, I'm not here saying that my music is for everyone. I know that there's records on the album that I did that were definitely way different than records like This Is Why I'm Hot. And a lot of people miss those records because they were really just involved with that one record.
Right.
But now that I'm 20 years, almost 20 years outside of that album, I realize that there's records on that album for everyone to enjoy. Something for somebody to enjoy that's there. And if anyone hasn't heard the album 20 years later, please go check it out because I'm sure it's on all the streaming platforms.
Yes, and you guys will be able to check out the whole album if you go to Spotify, YouTube. I mean, come on, it's streaming everywhere. Definitely go to YouTube so you can get a lot of the visuals, a lot of the videos. You had some pretty hot videos from this album, different songs, and even from the Guilt album in '09. But just a little bit, so cop it. I went down a list of the songs because I've been playing it all day. Playing video games and had you on the speaker just listening to the music. That's how I vibe when I'm getting ready for a show. So I'm killing people in Call of Duty and I'm listening to Mims. That's how my day was. Cop It, Big Black Train, love it. They Don't Want to Play Like This, Just Like That, Without You, Superman, Doctor, Don't Cry. Like I said, like you said, definitely hit me. Girlfriend's Fave. Isn't that the one, Fave MC? Is that the one with Jay Holiday?
Jay Holiday's on that record.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. Now that song there, listening to it today, and I'm telling you, the songs that you have that you had out 20 years ago, today is very relevant. You could play it in a club today. The kids wouldn't even realize that song was from 20 so odd years ago. It's still bumping, but that Jay Holiday hit, I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Shout to Jay Holiday. I had this thing when I was signed. I at that time, I think I signed to Capitol Records.
Yes.
And one of the things that I wanted to do at the time was showcase some of the talent that was already in-house. And I believe we had LaToya Luckett at the time, and we had Jay Holiday. So if you listen to the first album, even coming off a big record like This Is Why I'm Hot, it
Right.
would be customary for any artist to start reaching out to like different artists that were
Okay.
all over the place. With me, I kind of wanted the home team to be down, and we have a lot of talent. We had a lot of talent,
Yes.
obviously in house. So Latoya was on, I believe she was on
It
Without
was
You, the
on.
record
Yep.
with, yeah, and then Jay Holiday was on Girlfriend's Favorite MC, and
Right.
I haven't listened to that album in quite some time,
Yeah.
but I remember once you say the title of the record, I remember
Yeah.
the sound, and I remember the message behind the record. So yeah, so
Well, I loved in the Guilt album, the Love Roller Coaster with Latoya Luckett.
yeah,
Also, Move If You Wanna, On and On. Rock and Rollin' with Tech Nine, that's a dope one too.
yeah,
That was a really good one. But I want to ask you this before we get into This Is Why I'm Hot. We'll jump to
mhm,
the second album. The Move On, Move If You Wanna. The fact that it was in what was it, Step Up 3D, the dance scene that it was in was really dope. Did you think that your music would impact so much to where there's a whole scene in the movie at the time? The step movies were really, really
huge,
popping at the time. I mean, everyone had a step up, something in the movies at the time where they were battling. What did
yeah.
you think about that? Because they killed it to your song. And I love the video for it as well.
I always let's talk about the era of music, right? Let's talk
Okay.
about I was born in the 80s, so my era of music I always say is the 90s. Like for
Yeah.
me, I listen
Yeah.
to 90s music.
Yeah.
90s music, when you listen to it, and for me, when we talk about nostalgia, it
Yeah.
brings me to a place in time. And I think when I got into the creative process of actually recording music, which was like the late 90s, early 2000s, that era is someone's
Mhm.
golden era, right? So
Yeah.
if you think about that era of music, that was club,
Yeah.
party, having a great time, going out, dancing. So everything that we did embodied what we were doing as young adults at that time, especially for me. And I think that people talk about today's music, and I never necessarily say anything negative about today's music because it's not my era to speak on.
Right.
But I think the difference in what we're doing today what's going on today compared to what was happening then is that the music embodied the era and the time.
Yeah.
And today's music, um, I don't I don't necessarily live the lifestyle of some of the records that are coming
Right.
out, so I can't relate to it. Did I think that my records would become big dance records or the records that people can dance to? Absolutely, 100%. Because that was the goal. When I heard the beat, any beat that I heard, any instrumental that was played for me, I had to do this in the studio
Yeah. Yeah.
automatically. You know,
Yeah.
so it was a part of that era. And I think if you listen to all of the music from that time,
Yes.
even some of the counterparts that have come out around like the Sean Kingstons, the Soldier
Yes.
Boys, the Rich Boys, the DJ Unks. Like I think there was a few records that year that were big records, and they all kind of had the same party dance vibe theme in the clubs. And yeah, so nostalgia, I love it. And yeah, no, it was 100% my goal to make people dance.
Oh, you definitely did. And I love the fact that you're also a lyricist. I mean, I've listened to a lot of your today. I was going through some of your freestyles. I mean, you're saying something, but also to where we can dance. And listening to the album again today, the nostalgia of that just brought me back. And and before I know it, I'm on the couch shooting as I'm bumping to the music, and then having to pause when we get to the one with Jay Holiday. Let's see, girlfriend's fave MC.
Hmm.
Listening to that, it did take me back. And don't you find you just mentioned it though, but I have to say, the era that we did grow up in, where, like you said, Rich Boy, everyone at that time, I mean, Jay everyone had something out that was just so good. Um, we loved to party and dance. It was happiness at that time. But the kids today, they'd rather listen to a lot of our music that we grew up to
Yeah,
today. It's popular. I have 23-year-olds that I work with that are walking around singing song from I didn't know they
yeah.
knew. I didn't know they knew that music, but how does that make you feel that today your song still pops and This Is Why I'm Hot? It's still hot today. I
Yeah.
mean, it's still played.
It's a gift. I think it's more gift now than even was back then for me. And the reason why I say that is because when you're in the moment, you tend to kind of get lost in the moment. So
Right.
having the biggest record in the world in
Yeah.
2007, one of the biggest records in the world as a breakout artist, you
Right.
get lost in that moment, and like you end up going to the award shows, and you end up doing things that artists do. And it's great when you're in the moment, but you don't really see it until you actually step outside of it. And for me stepping outside of it means that I'm a parent now. I have my own, I have my own child,
Right.
and I get to kind of see from a older person's perspective what music does to the younger people. So my hope is that, and this is probably bigger than music and even me. My hope is that people understand when they become creatives. So whether it's acting, artistry, whatever that creativity is, and then you actually create IP. So if it's a
Right.
movie or a song or anything like that, that lives in the world forever. And in 20 we're in 2025 right
Right.
now, but in 2225, this music will be archived and
Yeah.
someone will be listening to it saying, whoa, this is the music that was played by my ancestors.
Right.
And I think that's an amazing thing when you have that type of intellectual property that can outlast, generations. So I think it's a beautiful thing from a creative perspective, and I
Right.
also think it's a great thing from a business perspective. I think that when you talk about music in general, and what you leave behind, if you look at some of the greatest musicians of our time that are no longer here, like the Bob Marleys, the
Yes.
Michael Jacksons, I mean, there's so many to mention.
Right.
Tupac,
Whitney
Biggie,
Houston.
Whitney, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Whitney
Like
Houston.
if you throw on any of this music now, they're still alive, and
Yeah.
um
Right.
and
Yeah.
and they still live. We live vicariously through the music. We
Right.
live and breathe their energy vicariously through the music. So I think that creativity is one of those things that you may not even be rewarded for it in the moment, but if you when you get the chance to step away from it and look from the outside perspective, oh, it's an amazing sight for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the single "This Is How I'm Hot," "This Is Why I'm
Mhm.
Hot." How did that come about? Who wrote it? Did you know at the time that it would blow up the way that it blew up?
um there's two things I'm going to say. One,
Okay.
so I wrote the record. I was sitting in was living in Jamaica, Queens at the time, and I was sitting in the attic of the place where I was living. I was actually living with my sister's family, and my manager had came by at the time, actually one of my great friends too. I always say manager, but he's one of my best friends. Came by with a beat CD, and on the CD it had these like southern driven records. And me being a New York artist, I was like, okay, I'm gonna approach these records differently. I'm gonna out rap the record, like I'm gonna be super lyrical on these records. And I remember kind of just joking around with him, and I started freestyling these lyrics. And the first thing that came out my mouth was, "This is why I'm hot." And then I just kept repeating it because when you're working on music, like if I come up with something in my mind, the repetition is really how I kind of get the flow and the cadence. So I just kept saying, "This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot." And I'm like, it's like if you ever hopscotched or like
Yeah.
jump rope,
Yeah.
it's like
Yes.
jumping. Like before you get
Yes.
into that rope, you got to kind
Yeah.
of catch the rhythm.
Yeah. You
Um,
gotta, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So if you listen to the way I even said it, it was basically, "This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot. This is why I'm hot." So, and then I was like, okay, let me just come up with some verses. And I started kind of freestyling the verses. And, I don't remember the placement of the verses, but let me just recite the first one is, "This is why I'm hot. I don't gotta rap. I could sell a mill saying nothing on the track." So it's literally just
Wow.
flowing out, and the simplicity is that it was this in my opinion, I attribute it to the simplistic factor, right? Like
Okay.
the simplicity of it. I didn't overthink it. I wasn't trying to write a book report on top of a beat. I just wanted
Oh,
something that flowed. um and I came up with that record. And people get on me. I'll say the same thing about simplicity I've said it on other podcasts, and people in the comments don't necessarily like when I talk about simplicity in music. But let me explain. When I say simplicity in music, it's not that you have to be stupid, right? Simplicity doesn't mean stupidity.
Right,
And I
right,
think people correlate simplicity with
right.
stupidity all the time.
Simple-minded, yeah.
But if you listen to some of the biggest records in life, like you talked about Whitney Houston, I will always love you.
Mm.
I will always love you. That's not a hard concept to grasp. It's literally simple. It's just straight to the point. But what gives it that umph is the cadence, the energy that she sung it with, and the heart that she sung it with. And I think that that's where music lives the greatest and lives on the greatest. And we think it's about some of the biggest records that we've ever heard in life
Right.
from some of the biggest artists. They've all had this simplistic factor to it. So when I say simplicity, everybody, don't confuse simplicity with stupidity. There's a
Right.
difference. And I think that we live in a world where people just want to receive energy and be able to recite it and feel good about themselves. So one thing that I attribute to that record in particular is that this is why I'm hot doesn't just represent what I was saying on a record. It's when someone looks in the mirror and says, you know what, I look good, or I feel good, or I just finished a workout, or I'm about to start a workout, or I just aced my test. And this is why I'm hot. I'm hot because I'm fly. You ain't because you're not. It's real braggadocious, but it's simple. And it
Right,
worked. And it
right,
worked. And it got me to go around the world. And I'm proud that you know that I was able to create a record like that. It wasn't always easy for me to accept that because I think during the time of the creation of it, when you listen to that record, your expectation of the record to follow is always going to be, you know, bubblegum per se. And I
right,
think that I got caught up in earlier on in my career trying to figure out what the audience wanted from me. So even when you listen to Music Is My Savior as an album, there's a little bit of something for everyone, right? So like for
right,
my rap heads that like to rap, I got records like Dr. Doctor
right.
and Where I
Yeah,
Belong.
yeah,
You know, for the people who like the romance side of it, I got Without You with Latoya Luckett. You
right,
know, for my heartfelt, obviously people sentimental, there's Don't Cry. So
right,
there's a little bit of something on there for everyone to vibe to. And if you're like me and you like listening to albums that are maybe not as cohesive as some albums that just kind of sound the same,
right,
then the Music Is My Savior album is definitely one to listen to for sure.
right. So being that it's still played today, when it did blow up and you talked about this world that you were brought into, for those out there that are making music that haven't hit where you have gone, where you've gone and trying to get there, what is that world like? I mean, we hear about it today, but for you, the industry, the pressure of the second album and having to top the first album, how is that for an artist? I mean, is that stressful? The
Yeah,
life,
yeah, it's always going to be stressful, right? Because, or at least depending on who you speak to. For me, it was the experience that I had with just music in general, especially when you bring business into it, is it adds an extra amount of stress because
okay,
you're really just sitting there trying to figure out what the audience wants, right? And I think
right,
that for any artist who goes through that, you know, it doesn't matter what you do. You could paint you can have a blank canvas, and your greatest selling piece could be, you know, a line, you know, a black line across it, and people will pay 10 million for that. And then when you do a red line, someone will be like, "Oh, I don't like that." So I think that once you start to once you start to incorporate the business into anything, it changes your mindset and your creativity a lot.
okay,
Um, One of the things that I realized for me earlier on is that creative control is worth more than any amount of money someone can give you because the money is momentary, right?
right,
It's something that only lasts for that scenario. But I
right,
think if I had the chance to kind of like rewind and fix anything, it would be that I make sure that my creative control sustained and that
right,
I didn't rely so heavily on the machine to make me who I was, and
right,
basically just me saying, "Hey, I got here independently. I was helped out by the machine, and it
Right.
got me to the mountaintop. But
Right.
when I got on that mountaintop, I realized that I was at the highest point in the game,
Wow.
and that drop is very steep,
Wow.
So yeah,
When you left the music industry, you left in what was it after the second album that you decided I'm done? Was it a dislike for the industry and what you're talking about, and you just decided tech is where I'm going to go? Because I know that
yeah,
you went to community college, you did that, you left it so that you can really focus on music, which obviously
yeah,
benefited you because you blew up. You're very talented. I was reading a little bit about you, and I saw that the Baby Blue Sound Crew, Love 'Em All, was that one of the first entries
yeah,
into music? I went back and listened to their song today and saw you on that. You were so young.
yeah.
You're
I
like a
know a lot of
baby
it.
at that time.
Yeah, no, I think so. To answer the first question,
Yeah.
I actually was after the success of This Is Why I'm Hot. I think after my first check that I received was when I kind of had this like mundane taste for music and the
Okay.
actual business of it. And I think that was like circa 2008, right? And
Okay.
that's when I really kind of decided to kind of walk away.
Okay.
I did have a commitment for the second album, and it was a hefty financial
Oh,
uh it was a hefty, not financial commitment for me, but I knew that I was going to get paid a certain amount of money
okay.
going back into the second album. I just my heart wasn't there uh on the business side. It doesn't mean that I went in and made a less of an album. I had
Right.
fun making the Guilt album, but it just wasn't the same energy as my debut project.
Okay.
Um so I think for me, it was really like around 2008 that I kind of decided like, whoa, this music business side of it is not necessarily something I want to involve myself in. I think a lot of people confuse me not being around with me not having the ability to be around. And I
Right.
think that that's something that I've always had to accept as what people will view in me, but
Hmm.
that's not necessarily the truth. The truth is that I realized at a younger point in my career that there was just things that I wasn't worth selling myself for. And one of them was just, going into an album with a company that I didn't think appreciated or valued my talent, my level of talent.
Right.
Um, and nobody's fault in essence, but that's just the way it works, right? If you felt like you got robbed of something, when you approach it the second time around, you have a decision to make. You could either go back into it, or you could decide that I'm not going to go back into it.
Right.
And I think maybe around 2008, I knew, and my heart wasn't there, but around 2012, 2011, 2012 is when I started to venture into technology.
Okay.
And I always loved tech. I've always been a tech person. Like when I was young, I would rip apart electronics and open it up just to see how it worked. And so my mind has always been create something that try to create something that I think can change the world. And
Right.
for me, it was an app at the time. Um, and I got involved in that space and met some cool people, did some cool things. Uh, and then now I think I'm at a point in life where I'm like, I don't want to use the word retirement because I know I'm still young,
Yeah, you're very young.
but like I think I will say this, right? A lot of artists will come in and say, "Hey, man, my goal was never to be a musician," and I don't think that was ever my goal. My goal wasn't to be a multi-billionaire off of
Okay.
music. My goal was I enjoyed making music. I enjoyed creating it, but I knew that as far as like money is concerned, I've never had an issue making money in any space that I've ever got involved in, and that's probably what makes me more reserved
Okay.
than the normal person who may feel like, man, if I had that opportunity, I would just keep going. No,
Right.
because for me, money was never really it was never really a destination. It was just a
Okay.
tool. So I knew that as long as I had the brain capacity to apply myself in any industry, it
Right.
doesn't matter what it is, I'm gonna make money. So what do I really want to do? And I think I'm at a point now in life where I'm like, okay, I've done music, I've done technology, I've gotten into food and beverage, I've gotten into different business ventures.
Okay.
Now I'm like, okay, well, how do I set myself up for the later years of my life to where I don't have to work and I don't have to go out there and punch a clock. And that's where I'm at now, where I'm just kind of laying that foundation down, and I'm happy where I'm at right now.
When you were out there, and I wanted to mention, you mentioned the tech that you got into tech. It was the music tech app Recordgram, was it?
Hmm.
Recordgram.
Yes.
Okay, was that was the first venture into tech?
Yeah, that was the so I had another idea before Recordgram, which later
Okay,
became Creator App. And it was an idea that we tried to figure out how to launch. It was just a lot of like red tape behind it, a lot of music licensing complications behind it, and we never really kind of got it off the ground. But
okay,
out of that idea spawned Recordgram, which was an app that allowed you to use your cell phone as a recording studio, and
oh,
also a marketplace for producers to actually sell their tracks. Um, and I thought
oh,
the idea was amazing at the time. Technology has advanced way
yeah,
beyond that point now, where
right,
there's so much stuff that you're doing with your cell phones. But at the
right,
time, there was no one in that industry, and we were kind of like the first trying to really conquer the iOS space or the
wow,
phone space. We won some really great awards for it. We raised some really great money for it.
wow,
And then eventually what I would get involved in was blockchain, and that kind of led me
okay,
into my blockchain phase. And most people, when they hear blockchain, they probably are going question mark. But most people will know it like as cryptocurrency. So
yeah,
Bitcoin,
yep,
Ethereum,
yep,
and then getting involved in that side of that technology and understanding why that tech is so important and imperative to where we're going in the future,
right,
and being in the forefront of it allowed me to kind of get in some greater rooms with some good
nice.
people.
Nice. Yeah, crypto, people laugh, we're into crypto, my husband and and I was the first one that told him about it. I'm like, there's this thing called Bitcoin, and it's like $50 to buy in. And he's like, oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. Years later, now he's buying up crypto. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like that's what we do. So yeah, people, guys, get crypto. That is the wave of the future. I'm telling you, get
yeah.
crypto. Anyways,
Understand what
though,
the technology is for sure.
yes, absolutely. And I find that to be just absolutely smart that you got into tech when really, like you said, we didn't know about tech like that, like we do today. For you to leave and get into that, I just find that to be absolutely brilliant. Because you do still perform, right? You still go out there, you still perform. I see that you still do concerts and that. Do you get tired of performing? This is why I'm hot. I always want to
No.
ask you, people that have albums like that just blew up.
Yeah.
Do you get tired of singing the song?
No, I think it's a blessing. I mean, I think I'm not sure when this is going to be airing. But I will be, I think, in November, I'm going to be coming to the Bay Area. I'll be in LA. I think I'm doing something in Arizona, and a couple of the events are more intimate events, so more smaller venues. And I think the Arizona one's a concert with Pitbull and a few other artists.
Awesome.
Um, I love it. I think I love the fact that 20 years later, I could still be on the road, and like, you point the microphone at the crowd and everybody's singing the words word for word. So there's no bone in my body that will ever say that that's not a good thing. I encourage anyone out there, like, I know music is a struggle for a lot of people when it comes to, like, how to break into the industry, because it's not an easy industry to break into, and it's a very heavy barrier of entry when you get in to actually have to maintain. But I think the beauty about it is when you do get one, at least one, what you can do with that one is life changing. Where you
Right.
can go with that one is life changing. I have a concert in Korea later this year that I'm putting together.
Wow.
I'm working on certain countries in Africa for the beginning of next year. And music has brought me around the world, but as not just as a person who just has a passport going somewhere, as a person who's a musician, and I'm going to see how my music has affected people in
Oh,
countries that don't even speak English. And that's
right.
amazing to me.
Right. Absolutely. I want to mention that you have like over 700,000 streams monthly on Spotify.
Yeah.
You have songs that are like 2025, 2020. I mean, you've consistently dabbled in music, would you say, throughout the years? I mean, is that something that you feel will always be a part of you?
I, I get calls every now and then, and they say, "Hey, you still retired?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And they're like, "Well, can I get you on this song?" And I'm like, "All right, sure." But I'm not actively. I'm not actively like. Actually, funny enough, I just finished up a project. Shout out to my guy DJ Menace. We just finished up a project together. He's a producer that worked on one of the records on my first album called "It's All Right," believe it or not. And he called me mad at me because he just won a Grammy with Killer Mike. And he's like, "Man, you know, Mims, you could be doing what Killer Mike is doing. You need to get back in the studio." So I'm like, "All right, bet. Just send me the music. Let's put something together." I think I got about 7 or 8 records, brand new records with him that I've
Wow.
done. I think they're gonna come out shortly.
Okay.
But here's what I like to say, right? I'm not competing to get a million streams, right? That's
Okay.
not my goal in life anymore. My goal is for anyone out there that's listening to Mims music or is just a fan of music in general. I'm just in the process of just like, hey man, I'm gonna record it, and whoever likes it likes it. Whoever shows up at the shows shows up at the shows. Um, I'm not competing against anything. And that right there is what I talked about when it comes to creative control. That freedom of saying, hey, if I it's like it's almost like when you get like into your 70s and you want to create a garage band, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the phase I'm in. Like I'm in this like cool hippie phase, this cool hippie phase right now where I'm like, I don't care if one person listens or 1 million people. And I wholeheartedly mean that. Like I'm not out here looking for fame.
Right.
I just when I get on music now, it's just because whatever the situation is, whether someone asks me to jump on a song or whether I heard a beat and I liked it, it's literally just about that freedom of just going in and creating.
Right. Do you have artists out that you are liking right now that you find nice flow, or there some of the young people that are coming up or already been out that you listen to and you're like, okay,
You know what I love about today's era of music? I love what the females are doing.
right, yeah,
I love the movement of what the females are doing. I may not understand the messaging, right? It's not for
right,
me. I'm not a 20-year old woman, but I
right,
do love the messaging. I love I love the camaraderie that I feel like the women are having now, and that
right,
wasn't always there. And it's not a
right,
knock to anyone, but my era of music was Little Kim versus
yeah,
Foxy Brown,
right,
and both two talented mega icons.
yeah,
But it was always like every woman that came out at the time always kind of had to have this rift,
yeah, yeah,
and now you're starting to see women actually collaborate and work with each other.
yes,
And I think it's amazing. So shout to all the women MCs,
right,
artists, reggae artists out there. There's a lot, but y'all know who they are, and you see them every day on your social media. So shout to them because they're like they're lifting the game up right now, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. Um, Really quick for artists, because I interview a lot of artists that have gotten signed or on their way to wanting to be signed. Would you tell them to stay independent versus if they go and get a record deal? Because you can do it
Yeah.
yourself. I mean, you can literally do it yourself. And I talk to a lot of artists that do it themselves, but there is this want of possibly maybe being where you're at. What would you say to those artists out there?
I think that's a complicated question to answer in just one statement, but I'll say this, right? There's a few things I'll add to this point. One is it depends on your life circumstances, right? So if a company comes to you and says, "Hey, here's $500,000, we want to sign you to this record label," and you're living in the projects and you got, you
Yeah,
ducking straight bullets
yeah,
and in that moment you feel like that's something you have to do to get yourself into a better light. I
right,
could never tell someone not to do it
right,
under those circumstances. So I think it just depends on where a person is in their life financially and where they are and who they are.
right,
However, I will say this: anytime you're in a situation where someone's willing to offer you a check for what you're doing, just know that they've already seen the potential of what the money is that's going to come in.
okay,
Today, we live in a world where metrics is everything. So numbers are everything. So you can't fake numbers. If you got 1 million followers on YouTube and you got 1 million followers on Instagram and someone says, "Hey, I'm going to give you $1 million check," chances are they're going to make 10 million off of you. And I think when you're in that position, you should be smart enough to understand. that you have something that most companies don't have, which is you have the ability to leverage your audience against what you're pushing and promoting. This is why people like Cardi B is so successful. This
Right.
is why Drake is successful. This is why Kendrick Lamar is successful, because they already have the leverage. They don't need the machine. The machine works well with them, but they already have the leverage in their audience.
Right.
And a lot of people think they get it confused and they say, well, I need to sign to a record label because they're going to give me that machine that's going to make me blow up. And that is not the case, because if you go into a record label in most circumstances with no audience and nobody supporting you, the label is not going to understand how to make it happen for you. They're relying on artists to do it themselves.
Okay.
So I think that there is a point in everyone's career and situation where they should consider taking a check, but you should work your way into the check. You should never be chasing behind
Okay.
the check. And what that means is if a label gives you $1 million, but you're only worth, right, on paper, you're only worth 5,000, then that $1 million check may be the last check you ever see in your life.
Wow.
However, if you have $1 million, if you feel like you're worth $1 million and a label cuts you a $500,000 check because you want to kind of pay some bills and move money around, you still have a portion of your career to leverage. So I mean, I would say any artists out there that are looking to get into the business, talk to someone who's been in it, right? Garner the information. Don't let it scare you, because everybody's path is different. But
Right.
at least get the information that you need so that you can navigate correctly.
Right.
Because yeah, there's a lot of artists out there that are lost, and they think that, just because they got signed to a record label, that their careers are just gonna propel. And I,
Right.
I know thousands of artists that will dispel
Mm.
that truth.
Right. Right. So really quick before we leave out, AI. What do you think about this Tupac AI at the WWE against Biggie Smalls? What do you think about the whole AI craze to where they can bring someone back and you
Yeah.
don't know, or you know what I mean? What do you think about that?
I think AI is dangerous, but it's dangerous in the wrong hands, and it's a useful tool in the right hands. Danger meaning, and this is me speaking as a black man. We live in a society where black people tend to always value the check
Right.
over the equity.
Right.
I'm a person in life now where I value equity over money, right? So you got to ask yourself in many cases why AI seems to only be trying to duplicate black music, or
Right.
only be prominent in our space. And
Right.
that's because we're always for sale. And I think that if we start to kind of get we start to kind of garner a new way of thinking. We start to realize that we can't allow um, we can't allow ourselves to be sold out so easily. Um, and once again, this is a deeper conversation. I don't want to bore the audience with
No.
my ideology, but yeah,
No.
man, AI is dangerous for our culture, because we have been the entertainers of life for a long time.
Right.
Whether it be rock and roll music, hip hop music, R&B, and leaning into popular music, we've been the creators behind that music. We've sold a lot of it. We might not own as much as we need to. We
Right.
need, so just imagine when you have artists coming in that, people can sit on the keyboard and type it up and then and spit it out. But here's a nuance to it, right? Here's the nuance to this. At some point, the AI, AI, the creativity of AI is going to water itself down, and people are going to start to recognize that it's watered down, and then that'll make them appreciate the authenticity of music again. And my real example would be if you took the Mona Lisa and you printed it 1 million times over and put it in every museum in the world, yeah, people will go visit the museum. They'll walk by the Mona Lisa. The first time they'll take a picture of the fake ones, and it'll be a sight. But after a while, you're like, man, I really just want to see the real thing. I
Right.
really want to go to the Louvre and see the real thing. And I think music is the same thing.
Right.
Um, you can't, AI doesn't have a soul, so you can't, it'll never have a soul. The creators could have a soul, but the AI itself won't. So I think there's a catch 22 to it. While I appreciate technology, I think it's a danger to our genre of music, or at least my genre of music, that
Mhm.
and I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to protect the little bit of this entertainment thing that we own. We
Right.
have to come kind of protect it. So my thoughts.
I agree with you. I think that the first time when the AI did the Tupac, they did a song where against Keefe D, and I think that was like, oh, that's cool, that's pretty cool. But now seeing where they're going, where you can literally recreate. I mean, I saw the other day he's like at a WWE. It looks so real. It's it's bothersome in a way because it's like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? It's quite bothersome. And
Yeah.
you can recreate their voices on albums and make it seem like that it's happening right now. So I just love to get your opinion and thank you for that and for that message because we do need to think about that. And I never did think about the fact that it is a lot of our culture that AI is hitting. It is us that you see on AI. I never thought about that. Now I'll look
Yeah.
at it differently, even more past the artist, just AI in general, because they do use us in AI a lot. Um,
Yeah.
this is your time to shout out anything you want to say, please. You guys, this is Mims that I'm sitting with here. This is why I'm hot. I don't need to explain. You guys already know. Mims, this is your outro.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on. I
Of
appreciate
course.
the platform. I appreciate you giving me a platform to stand on, and I wish you much success. And
Thank you.
shout out to anyone listening. And I will say this: I'm not the biggest on social media. I try to stay away from. I told you about the phase that I'm in life,
Yeah.
and where I want to go. But I will say, if anybody out there struggling with anything in life, whether it be music, and they may have some questions that they need to ask, please feel free to hit me up on any one of my social media sites or whatever's out there. I think it's at Mims Life for the most part for
Mhm.
everything. And I think for me, it's more important to have those one-on-one conversations with people when I can. Just because I feel like I didn't have that when I was coming in. So sometimes it's cool to just kind of be that air. That doesn't mean I'm going to be sitting on social media answering everybody. But that's the one thing that I can say. I'm not super famous on social media, at least not right now. So I think it's cool if you're out there and you're listening and you have a question, please hit me up.
That's awesome. You guys will be able to get in contact with Mims. His Instagram, his links will be in the bio of the description of this video. So, like he said, hit him up, and you guys will be able to link with him. All the socials. If there's a link that I do not have, Mims, just have your management send it to me. I'll make sure it's up in a video when it's recorded or when it's
Thank you.
edited. Okay, so just please do that. You guys, this is Rossi McCree. I'm the host of Rossi's Clubhouse. I'm here with Mims. Thank you so much, you guys. Again, this is Mims. We're going to be out.